Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AFAPWA's third action circle, third gathering in this cycle about the foundational toolbox for life. We are so happy to have you joining us today. It is almost the full moon. On September 2nd is the full corn moon. And so during this time of the month, we are refining and making decisions, and we are excited to continue our conversation about mindsets and attributes today. As we are getting started, I just want to remind everybody this is August. We're getting ready to close out August, but this month was back to school month, National Breastfeeding Month, National Eye Exam Month, National Immunization Awareness Month, and today is also known as National Lemon Juice Day. So if you need a little spice up your water a little bit, put some lemon juice in there, today's the day to do it. Refresh and cleanse. My name is Abigail Twyman, and I'm joining you today from the home I share with my husband Dustin and our dog Zeppelin in the community of Knockety Bay. And our Alaskan oasis is located on northern Prince of Wales Island in southeast Alaska, which is located in Tlingit-Ani, the land of the Tlingit people, which they also shared with the Haida and Tsimshian. Specifically in what is the ancestral homeland of the people of Tuxacan, or the Coast Town tribe. I'm honored to be able to share this space with my ancestors and the ancestors of those indigenous to the land I currently inhabit, who fill my soul with the fire that fuels my action. I am dedicated to remembering forward and passing along their immense wisdom for the benefit of future generations and the protection of our shared home. I'm also deeply honored to be able to share this space with all the beautiful humans and change catalysts who have been inspired and empowered to join our pod. I'm dedicated to using the privileged body I was born into and this platform to catalyze collective action, and I thank you for your commitment to acting in the service of creating peace for yourself, your family, your community, and all inhabitants of Mother Earth. Today, we are honored again to have the one and only Alex Weisenfels as our fearless leader in this gathering. So without further ado, I will pass it to you.
Thanks, Abby. Let's see, here we go. So, Action Circle is all about learning to have more effective conversations around challenging topics, as well as effectively collaborating with others who share our vision, mission, and values. When we come to Circle, we assume the answers to all our questions are within the Circle because we brought the right group of people together with a collective wealth of knowledge and experience. Our guiding theory is that our respective change efforts within our personal and professional lives, as well as our movements and organizations, have had limited impact on the overall trajectory of the data. Therefore, it's incumbent on us to adjust our approach. By bringing voices together and guiding the conversation in a new yet very old way, we have the potential to develop plans of action which are much more likely to get us to the end goal, a truly just, equal, and peaceful world, the way it used to be and the way it always should have been. Our goal is to catalyze the spread of action circles across the world in the service of creating peace through collective action. Today, we're wrapping up our conversation about, that's specific to a previous meeting. Today, we are our third meeting about the foundational toolbox for life, and we're talking about how this toolbox can be applied to situations in which people are struggling because they don't have the tools or the concepts necessary to deal with them in a constructive manner. Now let's see where the next part is that applies here. Here we go. So thank you all for being here today to share your wisdom with the circle in response to the guiding questions. What problems are we and others struggling with because we're missing the mindsets and attributes necessary? And what can we do about that? Before we begin the conversation, it's important to establish agreements that will guide us and protect us within the circle. These 6 agreements are a starting point for action circles, and they belong to the circle. They will be reviewed at the beginning of every circle, and any member of the circle can propose additions or modifications. While each action circle will be recorded and made public, the stories shared within the circle should only be shared in a way that protects, uplifts, inspires, and empowers others. 2, we listen for understanding, are mindful of how our words and actions impact the flow of the circle, and take responsibility for addressing any hurts we may cause. 3, we know that we won't solve these complex problems overnight and are committed to learning and unlearning so we can be more impactful with our actions. 4, from time to time, we will pause to regather our thoughts or focus. Silent counsel can be called for by any member of the circle by using the chat function. So we can say, waste, why am I still talking? Or realize that we ran out of the ideas and are just continuing. Or, Gilmo, good enough, let's move on. Number 5, the chat function is reserved for contributions from those who choose typing as their preferred mode of communication, and for gems or quotes harvested by scribes, any of us, that we think are particularly good to remember. Also, you are always welcome to pass by just saying pass or another form of communication like typing pass in the chat. And number 6, whenever possible, we take a pause before speaking and use sound verbal behavior, e.g. measured and deliberate speech, when sharing our perspectives with the circle. So we will go around and introduce ourselves, acknowledge lands, acknowledge the agreements, and feeling question for today. It's a tricky one. We'll have to start reusing them eventually. So let's go back to what emotion color are you today? And I will start. There we go. My name is Alex Weisenfels. I'm an eccentric existentialist philosopher and high-functioning escapist. I live here in Madison, Wisconsin, originally settled by the Ho-Chunk people. I acknowledge the agreements, and my emotion color for today, let's go with observational translucent blue. And I'll pass the talking piece to Abby. Or wait, no, sorry, who's number? Oh, Deepinder, you're number 1.
Yeah. I am Deepinder Ransi from New Jersey, land originally by Lenni Lenape Indians, and I honor my land back home in India, where I am from, where I grew up. And my talking piece is my book I've been reading. I really like this book, The Power of Small. Yes, it's a cool book. I will put it in the comments, the name, in case you want it. And I acknowledge the agreements. And my emotional color is yellow mixed with blue. I feel some hopeful and I feel a little hopeless as well at the same time. So, since morning, I have felt both emotions. I felt hopeful, then I felt hopeless, then I felt hopeful. So I guess that's the reality of a human mind. We share all emotions and cannot feel one without feeling the other. So have to feel both to feel one. Can't numb to one and enjoy other. You just have to feel more, both. Yeah, that's my personal experience of life as well. Literature says that too as well, but I felt my own experience as well. Okay, I pass it on to Mary Wang.
I am indeed Mary Wang, and I'm here in Madison, home of the Ho-Chunk people. I come from farther north, and that is the home of the Menominee, among whom I grew up. Why am I having so much trouble focusing today? Color today. I've kind of thought of every color. I feel like a kind of swirl of blue and black and red and yellow. Yellow just because it's my favorite, and that it's this color of sunshine, like entering, my optimism. But I've also been really, really upset by what's gone on in Kenosha, very close to where my sister raised her African-American son, and it's just sort of the tenor of society and politics in my my close neighborhood, my own state, has been making me feel a sort of angry red, and also just a really bleak, black, despairing sort of feeling. So I'm, as so often happens in my personal life, I'm full of sunshine and optimism and go get 'em. And when I look at the larger world, I get really dragged down. So that's where I am today.
Okay, good morning. I'm Maximus Pepperkamp. I am in Chico, which is the land of the Yahi Indians and the Maidu Indians, a native population. And they still have some casino here, and they have some places where they come together. And I agree with the agreements which help us to have this communication, and I feel very strong about this need for conversation, communication, and so I'm happy to participate in this group. I feel very positive about this group. And my shirt, you know, whenever I put on a shirt, I always choose a certain color, right? It's kind of like that when you put on a shirt. And so today I chose this color, this yellowish, greenish color, because I like that. It's a hopeful color. It's a natural color. And I feel really happy with the start of the first week of class with full classes. So I feel fortunate to be where I'm at and with where everything is at in my life. And yeah, looking forward to the meeting. Thank you. And then we go back to Abby again, I think. Yep. Or to Alex. Yep.
It's to me. I put myself at the end of the circle today. So hello again, I am Abigail Twyman. I'm a humanistic behavioral scientist, a creative writer, and a data-driven optimist. I acknowledge the agreements. I am coming to you, as I mentioned, from Tlingit Ani, which is the land of the Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian people. And so I've got lots of colors going on in my brain. But this morning I woke up and went down to the beach. And this morning, like I was saying earlier, it was, yesterday it was like torrential downpour, and today it's like that shifting of the weather patterns. And so down on the beach, I was like looking out at Tuxacan Island, which is just across from where we are. There's just like a bank of dark clouds, right? So if you just visualize like a bank of dark clouds, that like dark gray. And then as it progressively went up into the sky, it was like lighter and lighter until the sun was starting to kind of like shine through the clouds. And it was that like silvery white that then faded up into the blue skies that were like coming in. And it was just like, so those are my colors today. It's just like that progression, the ombre from like the dark gray to the lighter gray to the silver to white and back up to blue. So that's my emotion color. It was very like centering, speaking to the ancestors this morning. So that's how I'm feeling. And this morning I have my talking piece, which is it's just a bandana that I found that it was one of my friends' bandana. And I found it when I was doing laundry at her house, and I was like, I love this so much and I need to take it home. And she was like, it's yours. But so anyways, there's something special about this that made me just say like, I need this in my life. So now it's like something I can just hold on to and play with while if I need a fidget. So, and I'll pass it back to Alex.
Thanks, Abby. Let's see. I do have a centerpiece here. Once I pull it up. There we go. So this centerpiece is one that I found. I was looking for. Here we go. Is it there? Not yet. It's still loading. I was looking for images of puzzle pieces because that's kind of a recurring theme with these ideas. Let's try this one more time. And I found a great image. There we go, much better. Okay. There it is. Found a tree that grows puzzle pieces. And I figured that this was a good image to focus on because there are so many different pieces of wisdom around. And as a whole, humans do a pretty good job of generating wisdom. It's just that we need to start harvesting some of these puzzling fruits and try and fit them together, because otherwise they're just going to fall on the ground and I suppose eventually generate more puzzle trees. But if nobody actually eats the fruits or fits them together, then we won't gain the benefits of eating a complete fruit puzzle. Okay, I didn't think about this metaphor very clearly, but I figured that it's good for inspiring people to take it in whatever direction they want to take it, to just be able to look around and see all of these different puzzle pieces just growing up everywhere that are just begging to be fit together. So that's the centerpiece that I've got here. And then let's see. Is now the time to do the guided meditation with the garden? Excellent. So I'll give Deepinder the floor then.
Thank you. Find your comfortable position. Mary, before I start, I love your parrot. I see how nicely he's sitting on your shoulder. Yeah, I just noticed him. Look at him. It is the first parrot who will be attending my meditation, so I'm honored.
It's a little subdued, so I was a little worried about him. He doesn't usually sit quite so still. We'll see how it goes.
I just noticed, I said, oh, what is that? First I thought it was your talking piece or something. Then I realized, no, this is. I think my daughter is joining, guys. That's her. Yes.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, welcome.
Thank you.
So we have two new guests. We have the parrot and we have Deepinder's daughter.
Yes. I think it's showing my name because I forwarded her the link which you shared with me. Her name is Simran. Yes. Simran, you can introduce yourself quickly. Then I'm starting a meditation, if that's okay with Alex. Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. And feel free, I think you should be able to change your name as well. If,
Yeah, so I'm Simran. Hi. I don't really have anything else to say.
Okay. Okay.
Nice to have you with us. Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, we do also have the emotion colors. I think mine was observation translucent blue, something like that. Just sort of a color feeling that you're feeling today.
I don't know. Maybe blue?
Okay. 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 Thank you for sharing, Simran. I'm starting a meditation now. Find your comfortable position. Gently, softly. Close your eyes. Bring your attention. If you haven't muted yourself, please mute yourself. Thank you. Just let your body and mind settle in. As with the rain, all the dust particles settle at the bottom on the earth. In the same way, let all your thoughts settle down to the bottom of the earth, to the bottom of your mind. Today, theme of our meditation is we're going to create our meditation garden. Visualize you are standing in front of a gate. Take a moment to see what kind of gate do you see. Everyone might see something different. Is it wooden, metal? Does it has any color, any grids on it or not? Is there a lock on it or not? If there is a lock on it, if you'll put a hand in your pocket, you will find a key and you can open that lock and go inside. This is your meditation garden. Take a moment to look around. What do you see? Do you see, is it at one level or is it at multiple levels? You might see trees and flowers, vegetable garden or not, open grassland, fountains, pond. I will give you a few moments to see, create what you want to create in it. In my garden, I see the levels. In my garden, I see the pond and a fountain and the flowers. Now, I would like you to take a walk down to the edge of your garden. What do you see beyond that? I see my garden is by the mountains. Yours could be by the beach, by the bay, by the city. It could be anywhere. I would give you a moment again to visualize where it is your garden is, the surroundings of your garden. Now, I would like you to find a quiet spot in your garden. It could be a bench by the fountain, on the grass, whatever suits you, by the flowers. And sit over there for some time. And just have a quiet moment, look around the garden you have created. And this is a place where you are, this garden is a place where you are fully accepted with your past, with your present, with your fears, with your joy, with your hope, and with your hopelessness. Any feelings that have come to you, in you, any past experiences, your present, and any future dreams, everything is accepted here. Anything and everything can come and be at peace with you, around you. There's no questions, no judgments. This garden can let you be who you are. As you sit quietly, just observe your breath here for a few moments. Observe what thoughts, emotions, if any, are arising, are coming and passing by, or staying there maybe. You can come to this garden whenever you want to have a little quiet time away from the noise of the world. You have created it. It's for you. It accepts you fully. You're always welcome here. You can change things around in your garden whenever you want. You can name it. I name my garden Drishti. It's a word from Sanskrit. It means vision. You may name your garden whatever you want. Now, gently and slowly, I will like you to get up from wherever you are sitting. Take one final look at your garden. Absorb it in. Save it in your mind, in your body, to revisit whenever you want. Slowly walk back towards the gate. Open the gate. Close the gate. If you want to put a lock back on it, you may lock it and put the key back in your pocket. And when you are ready, we gently open our eyes up. Okay. Thank you for everyone. If anyone just wants to share, what did they name their garden? I just always like to hear that, if they want to share. Mary, your parrot stayed pretty quiet.
Very tuned in.
Yes, this is my
Meditation.
first parrot in the creating a meditation garden.
Every garden needs a parrot in it.
Yes, yes.
So my garden is Marley's place. So that's named after our dog who passed away at this past Christmas.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's pretty. That's pretty. And it's very interesting. Everyone's gardens look different. I know we have an agenda. If quickly someone wants to share, because this way other people get better at imagining it when they hear from each other. So that's the only goal. Like, you know, it's developing that imagine. If you quickly someone wants to share, what did they put in their garden? You know?
I have discovered that I really like feeling things with my bare feet. And so I made sure my garden had like nice green, fresh grass and moss and things that feel good underfoot.
Oh.
Right from the start.
Okay, good. Yeah.
My garden took me back to Holland, my country of origin, and I was all of a sudden in a Dutch field near a lake, and it was very open skies and the you know, and so I walked towards the lake. There was a little platform there to put your sailboat.
Oh my God.
It was really nice. Yeah. I didn't have a name for it though, but you get the picture.
Yes, yes, yes. Alex, would you like to share?
Oh, yeah. I haven't come up with a name for it yet because it almost has to involve a pun in some way, but I made sure to put a nice sort of babbling brook through it for the ambient sound and just watching water running over things.
Okay, beautiful. Simran, would you like to share? Hello. Okay, maybe not. You can pass, Simran, in the chat. When you don't want to, you can write there, I pass. It's all right. Okay, back to Alex. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much for guiding us through that, Deepinder.
No problem, my pleasure.
Let's see. So today we'll be focusing on two questions. The first question being, what are situations where people are faced with something that requires a particular mindset or attribute, and we're missing it, or we see other people missing it? And that's the first question we'll be focusing on. And after that, next question will be, what can we do about that? Before we begin, would anyone like a brief refresher on some of the mindsets or attributes and what roles they play?
Yes, I guess it will helpful.
Okay, let's see. I'll go ahead and pull these up here. Share screen, here we go. Okay, so basic mindsets. So we've got the core mindset, observation mindset, which is that I would say is what we were using to do that entire mindfulness meditation. Observation deals with clearing one's mind and just getting a clean workbench before bringing any of the other mindset tools to it. Just being able to observe all of the details, just absorb the moment without judgment. We have operation mindset, which deals with shaping efforts. This is the mindset that we use when we practice something and we can do it without paying too much attention to what we're doing. It's the subliminal processes that allow us to do things that are intuitive. It's our intuition. And the opposite of that is organization mindset. This one allocates efforts. And so we pay attention to all of the details and priorities and figure out what the best thing to do may be in order to get the most of what we want based on what we can spend on it, what we can contribute, what our resources are. And we have synthesis mindset, which is our imagination. It generates ideas by exploring all of the possibilities. So we look at an idea and then we figure out all the ideas that makes us think of, and then all the ideas those ideas make us think of, and blend them all together. And then the opposite of that is analysis, which deals with evaluating ideas. And that deals with looking at something and figuring out the logical implications, and then looking at those implications and figuring out the consequences of those, and then making sure that they all fit together. And then when we start combining these, we can combine operation and analysis and get semantics, which deals with simplifying interactions. It allows us to put labels on things and feed those labels into a set of rules or algorithms that tell us what is likely to happen and what our best response might be. And opposite of that, we have empathy mindset, combining operation and synthesis, and that deals with individualizing interactions. We can remove our assumptions, remove the labels, and look at how people are feeling, how a system might behave when we're interacting with it, and get a sense of what sort of impressions we create, what sort of impressions other people receive, and establishing a better bond with whoever or whatever we're interacting with. And we got two more mindsets here. We've got strategy, which combines organization and analysis, and that fortifies paths. So we look at what we have, we look at all of our options and the consequences of those options, and we can close down possibilities that we don't want by addressing things beforehand. This is our foresight. And then we have tactics mindset, combining organization and synthesis. And this deals with redirecting paths, looking at new and clever ways that we can apply what we have to achieve something that isn't obviously possible. Those are the basic mindsets here. There are many more combining those, but those are the basic ones that are easily recognizable. Let's see, we have some chat questions here, it looks like. Or, oh, okay, we're just noting these down. Okay, here we go. Then we got attributes, which describe the different ways that we can get stronger with these mindsets. We've got initiative attribute, or driving, which deals with being able to do something even though the reward may be far away, or it may take, may be uncertain, it may take a long time to arrive, or it may not be such a huge reward, but the easier we can get started, the more casually we can say, I'm going to do that. And the less it costs us to get started, the more initiative we have. And all of these attributes take practice. And the opposite of initiative, we have resilience, which deals with how well we can continue, how well we can maintain the quality of our performance even under stressful or uncertain conditions. Resilience or striving. And then we have mobility attribute or shifting, which deals with how quickly we can have a meaningful effect, how quickly we can take something that we just learned and do something impactful with it, succeed at achieving some effect. Let's see, there was another thing I was going to say. Oh yes, so wrapping it up, moving on to something else, that's mobility. And then lastly, with the basic attributes, we have intensity or delving. And this deals with how big of an impact we can make, how far we can push the scope or complexity of the change that we're making. And this one is the opposite of mobility attribute. So all of these describe ways that we can get calibrated with a mindset and applying it to a particular situation. Yeah, so that's the recap. Any questions so far? Oh, good. Sounds good. Let's see. So now we can focus on the question, where do we see that we or other people may be facing situations that they're struggling with because we're missing some of these, that we need to learn a mindset and practice it to develop its attributes. So to get us started off, I myself have been working on getting my organization attribute to be less dysfunctional. I am an intensity user, a delver naturally. So whenever I do something, I try and put as much thought into it as possible. But I'm trying to become more mobile with organization so that I can say, I'm going to focus on this now, and then wrap it up and move on so that I can sequentially get many more things done instead of focusing everything on just one project, because it's good to have one big project, but it really takes multiple projects working together in order to actually get something sustainable, something self-contained. So that's what I've been working on, organization and mobility, and combining that with observation to better be able to organize myself and my thoughts. I'll pass the talking piece to Dipinder.
It's a lot to think that way. I think I need to do opposite than Alex, what he said. I put too many projects in place at the one time, and then I try to move all of them at the same time, and that my quality goes down that way then. So I need to focus, pick a project, pick maybe 2 or 3 mini projects under it and focus on them and then learn to connect them together so that it becomes functional. Instead of running 6 projects at the same time, and then I am like chicken with no head, like running in all directions. And yeah, and not let the quality go down. And I just feel too passionate about too many things in the life. And I feel I need to do this and that and that and this. And sometimes I don't know what I want to do then. So I have to narrow it down to develop better organization skill while being observing what is of value to me, that is important to me, make my life meaningful, and I do a good job putting that out there for the world. Yes, okay. I pass the talking piece to Mary.
I think I'm fairly satisfied with the way that I attack projects. I have some frustration because, like Deepinder, I have many projects going at once. But in reality, I think that I prioritize them kind of intuitively so that the things that really need to get done do get done, and the things that are really less important don't get done, mostly housework. I've been thinking a lot though about how to mobilize other people. I think I've talked about this in previous weeks, that in my immediate circle, I see a lot of strategy and tactics and people getting organized about what needs to be done to adapt to the new teaching situation, and then finding multiple ways to do that and discussing how that's going and settling on one. And if you have, you know, people, while you're teaching, so many things can go wrong, and people are really empathizing with their students enough that they're not like losing their minds when there are technical problems, but that they're dealing with it really. Okay, I'm trying to, what's the word? I mean, empathy is part of it, but also they're good at searching out new tactics and the thinking on the fly and responding and being can do. I mean, I guess I keep thinking about this term can do, and I think in sort of larger discussion circles that I'm a part of, I keep hearing this can't do, we can't do this, we, you know, elementary school kids can't learn online. And I'm thinking that's patently ridiculous. Loads of kids learn online. It's not the end of the world. They can't learn to form relationships. Of course they can learn to form relationships. They'll be different from the relationships they had before, but they're not going to be like sociopaths because they spent a year or two going to school online instead of in person. I think I'm trying, so I guess what I'm trying to think about, and my personal goals for attending today are to think about what sort of things can I say in, you know, the meme verse that would urge someone to think, oh wait, yeah, maybe there is a solution to this that won't exhaust me and deplete me completely, or that won't leave my students floundering. And I gotta be honest, I can't identify exactly what that would be from my point of view. I think what I'm talking about maybe is encouraging other people to greater mobility and resilience and initiative, pretty much all the attributes. But I don't know what that means for me. Like, what what attribute do I have to develop to be able to have that impact sort of trickle down to others? Oh my God, you're so cute.
All right. When you showed the picture of the tree with the puzzle pieces, that picture really spoke to me. What immediately occurred to me was the colors of these puzzle pieces, and of course that these different colors, they belong together, and that they should be organized in such a way that all the blues goes with the blues, so that's what you do when you fix a puzzle. Yeah, you put everything that sort of has the same color together. And so that sort of yeah, is an organizing principle which also can be related to this top-down versus bottom-up approach, where 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 the top-down approach, of course, is that you have already a sense of what the whole puzzle look like, and bottom-up is you start just with one piece, but you never really start with one piece because there's a lot of blue pieces and they all have to fit together somehow. So you see, so you can already begin to organize just based upon that. And so, yeah, so there's a certain pragmatism that I think is very important, and that we can always get started somehow, and that we just gotta get going. And so what is the attributes that are with that? Sometimes people are fearing to fail, or they're fearing to, or oftentimes people are afraid to make mistakes and to just not try things out. And so, but you got to try things out, and you got to fail. Like you said before, Deepinder, like you got to have all these things together, and then it will sort itself out, and then you will find a way. So, yeah, that is kind of like also a synthesis, right? That you have ideas and possibilities and explore these. And so, yeah, another thing that I was thinking of also was that things need to be broken down in portions. That if let's say a student needs to read a whole chapter is very long, but you can break it down into sections, and you can read one section at a time, and then you can read it quietly, but you can also read it out loud, and and that's a very different thing, and you can write notes also sometimes, or you can, yeah. So there you have another approach to sort of just use tactics to to really approach a big piece of text like that. And again, also deal then with the fear, because once you organize things, then the fear is kind of like less, because you have a certain plan. And so, yeah, actually, Alex, I don't quite really believe in mindset, just to be quite frank about it, in the sense that, you see, I don't believe in the mind. I don't believe in the fact that we have internal thoughts. I don't believe in that. I think it's just the way we talk about things, that we believe we have those thoughts. But it is funny that we do talk about it here. And therefore, it doesn't really matter. But because I do not think that, because I do think there is, in that sense, also an overemphasis on what we write and what we read, and an underestimation of the importance of saying things and hearing things. And so that's kind of like my premise, that academia has done this to us, science has done this to us, and but we are still very biologically driven to be actually oral creatures, and anyways, so but all of that deals with organization also, I think, and with also within analysis, evaluating consequences, because there's a different outcome when you, let's say, for instance, say things out loud, or when you just read it silently. There is really a different outcome. And so yeah, anyways, and even if you didn't get it, you got distracted, then you can still say, well, wait a second, what did I just read? You just got to read it again. And it's not a mistake, it's nothing wrong. It's just what people have to do. Sometimes you have to read it twice, sometimes before you get it, before you really, yeah. So yeah, just encouragement and support in that process of just not giving up, and just keep on, yeah, keep on getting better, so to speak. Thank you. Abby, you're next. Sorry.
Yes, indeed. Oh. um. hmm. So I have so many thoughts going through my head right now that I'm having a difficult time pulling them all together. So if I were to think about that in terms of mindsets, so if I'm having a difficult time putting thoughts together, where am I? Am I kind of like in the operation mindset where it's just like all of the thoughts, right? All of the thoughts are coming to me, but it's not, I haven't been able to like organize them yet, possibly. But one thing that as you were all speaking, and it was, all the puzzle pieces, I too like connected with that, and I was like, all the puzzle pieces, starting to come together. As a behavioral scientist, one of the concepts that is always like part of what I'm thinking of is selection, right? Selection by consequences. That's why we do what we do and why we continue to do the things that we're doing or why we stop doing things. And there are three types of selection, or like kind of like categories of selection. And the first is genetic selection, right? So as species evolve, the attributes which are like help us adapt to the context are kept in general, and the ones that are maladaptive go by the wayside. And then ontogenic, so is that right? So phylogenetic selection is genetic selection. Ontogenic selection is selection by consequences, so reward and punishment. It like has to do with the individual behaviors. And then cultural selection is how our beliefs and practices and our norms evolve over time. And what you said, Maximus, about the language that you're using, and we don't, if you say I don't believe in mindsets, it's like, well, it's in some sense it's a hypothetical construct, right? It's just kind of like a way for us to be able to communicate with each other about an experience and what is good, and or what's feeling good and what's not feeling good. So I'm going to not waste any more time because I haven't fully put together some thoughts, but that's kind of my initial thoughts about mindsets and how they're not being, how Yeah. I'm just gonna pass back to Alex.
Okay. Let's see. We still have almost an hour left, so I'm wondering if we want to, instead of going straight to the how do we address these issues, seems like much of what we were talking about was where we may need to work on. Well, no. Do we want to focus a bit more about what problems we see elsewhere, or do we want to go to what approaches we may want to take? So we could do a bit of both. Let's go with what approaches we may want to take in order to address these problems, because we'll have plenty of opportunity to describe the problems further in the process of how we might approach them. Let's see. So, I originally talked about a problem I saw with myself. So this kind of ties in an interesting way. Oh, that's nice. Oh, Maximus, did you have something to say, or were you just showing the talking piece?
Sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you. I just
Oh,
thought
okay, no worries.
I need to grab a little thing to show or something, and I suddenly picked it up. Thank you.
Let's see. So, what have I been doing to practice observation, organization, and mobility? I've been trying to recognize that organization does allow people to focus down on something at one point in time, to focus all of our attention on a particular thing, because I was relying on operation or intuition to do that, and I realized that no, the difference isn't that one of them distributes attention and the other focuses it. They both do both. So what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to use nuance, to use finesse, to balance intensity and mobility and see the world not as barriers where this is a waste, this is worth doing, this is possible, this is not, but as gradients. This is less useful, this is more expensive, but it could still be worth doing if the situation changes. To see things as this is a bit more difficult, this could take a bit more time, this is relatively easy. So just to be aware of all of these different opportunities that are out there without getting overloaded by them, because I can say this is not yet something that I should do, but it could be. I need to be aware of that, and just keep in mind that all these things and all of these people that are out there, that it's all situational, whether or not it is best that I go down one path or another. That's something that's tricky. Being able to recognize these are all valid paths. Being able to recognize that there are multiple options and they're not all wrong or right. It's just a matter of I have to go down the good paths, and those might change, or one path might be just as good as another. And the important thing is that I keep moving. It's odd to think that way because organization isn't quite my strong point, but I can get better at it. So that's what I've been doing.
Is it my turn? Yes, okay. I mean, we all as a group talked about many things. I would start with myself is I can create a list of the things I shouldn't be doing because I get overwhelmed with too many things I want to accomplish. And as Mary was saying, I'm very positive, upbeat, wanting to live life, do a lot of things, which is good, but I think over enthusiasm can bring too much on my plate and brings the quality down that way. So I'm thinking, create a list of, like, a thought comes, oh, I'm going to do this, but I already have 2 projects running. I can start a separate list where I say, this I'm not going to do right now. I'm not going to start this, or give a timeline, like when project 1, 2, 3 is done, this will be my 4, 5, and 6. So not to do list might need to be longer than my to-do list of the projects. That's the only way I think it can balance it. And if we are talking about the other people, how they could support in the things they're struggling with, as Mary was saying, that understanding kids, they, instead of focusing on can't do, what they can do, will be having empathy for them at the same time, and their families and the parents who are struggling with online. Particularly many people from the minority families might not have that kind of support system, which I see within my own Indian community as well, which I don't want to say white because all of you guys are white, but like which white, upper middle class white families will have. And sometimes if you haven't felt what it means, how it means not to have something, you don't know that sometimes other families don't have it. Maybe the parent is not so comfortable with the English. Maybe they don't have that savvy with the technology. Maybe they don't know how to articulate their words right to send an email to the teacher. Hey, you know what? I don't know what to do about it. It's too many things. So I think empathy and understanding as a whole education world, I don't mean, Mary, that you don't have it. I'm just saying as a system, you are an ESL teacher, you get it, all this very well. I think it's the teachers which are like teaching math middle school. They are very objective. They're just, class in, class out. They kind of forget there is a student from a minority community there who don't know what to do about it. So we shouldn't forget to have an empathy towards ourselves, giving ourselves a pat on the back for what we do or what we fail to do, as Maximum said, because we tried. And if we go with compassion and empathy, we can't go wrong, because ultimately, if we don't feel loved in a day or on this earth or from each other, what's the point? We might succeed in bigger things, but if we don't feel love every single day, that day is not worth lived. We love for ourselves, love for the people around, love for the whole world, including the people who don't know how to give love or who don't show love. As earlier Mary said, lot is going on with your sister raising African-American son. There are people who are not being kind to other people, but we still got to love them still. If they hate and we hate, then there is no difference left between us. We're just going to increase hatred. It's not easy when you are being treated unfairly. It's not easy to love those people, but that's the place to start. There is no other place to start. Yeah, we are just going to make hatred bigger and bigger if we won't lead with love and empathy. So I think I am a very, I don't know, whatever, dreamer. But that's the only way I know how to live life, is just do love and empathy and love, and somehow all the puzzle pieces on that tree will come together, Alex. Okay, I will pass the piece to Maximum.
Am I next? Sorry. Oh, sorry. I was just writing something down. Thank you, Deepinder. Wow. I'm really inspired by everything everybody says and by what you just said, Binder. And wow, what can I say about this? Um, um, oh, something that I wanted to comment on and take a little step further. Um, this idea that there is things that we shouldn't do and that we need to learn to not do them, and that there's a whole bunch of behaviors we have learned which have been reinforced, which are just not productive. And we can only do something better or something else or begin to experiment with something that maybe give another result if we stop that behavior entirely. But we can only stop it if we do not judge ourselves for having that behavior or for failing to stop it, because we have been having that behavior for a long time. So there needs to be some sort of a non-judgmental state of mind of experimentation, and where you can sort of just begin to do that and say, like, well, like you're saying, you have your priorities, you have your list, you have your checklist, things that you shouldn't be doing. Okay, well, this is more important behavior that can wait, or I can just not do it. I can just not do it. And it's really good to postpone behaviors which are not so good, even if you can just tell yourself to sort of just postpone it. You say, well, I can still do it later, but I'm not going to do it now. And that will sort of just give you that sort of flexibility to be able to do it and to see there's another outcome already, just because you have decided. Basically, you put yourself in the mindset, so to speak. You put yourself in the mindset of what happens if I do not do that. You sort of just begin to strategize, like, oh wow, I will not have these consequences, and I will not be depleted, I will not be all over the map, and I will just be keeping the focus here. And so, yeah, Alex, also what you said was also really interesting. You mentioned at a certain moment that it is a gradation or something like that, right? And it made me think about probability and about, the chances of it increasing, or the chances of it getting better, the chances of it being more successful. And this incremental success, that is what we need to pay attention to, because that is really where something happens. And so we need to again and again, yeah, you sort of say, bring it back to ourselves. Whatever happens out there, we need to sort of bring it back to ourselves, to sort of say, like, is this what we wanted to happen? Or is this, what can I do to sort of just steer this a little bit more in this direction? And of course, you can never really steer it entirely. There's only so much anyone can do under the circumstances. But nonetheless, you can see that, wow, certain things work and other things don't. And oh, by the way, I just picked this up. It was laying on my table, the little owl here, and I thought it was nice as a little thing, wisdom, or I don't know, what is an owl? It's a symbol of wisdom. I don't know. Is it a symbol of wisdom here? I love owls. I think owls are great. They can turn their head all around, it's amazing how owls are. Anyways, that's a certain, yeah, maybe also something to think about, how these animals in different cultures, how these animals represent also sort of different mentalities of people, in European fairy tales, they have all these different animals, like the smart fox and the, and I don't know, other animals, I forget who they are, but, there's all these animals involved in these little folk tales, and these animals, they play out these allegories, where they also represent certain archetypes, if you will, like what Jung calls archetypes. Anyways, all these are all actually also again tragedies, or they are all again, if you will, if you want to look at it that way, Anyway, Abby, you also said something interesting, how there is this cultural overtone, right? Where you have this cultural conditioning, due to which we have this particular linguistic construct which gets us entangled. I mean, it's weird how that is, that we as Westerners, or we as educated people, have that tendency to sort of just get trapped in language, And no matter how much we chop it up and hair splitting there's going on academically, we just never really get out of it. And, you know, and it has been described philosophically, and we can read books about it, and we're still stuck with whatever, I don't know, our particular view is or our theory is. Anyway, so that sense of flexibility is a great need for us to sort of just loosen up and to, again, as Dipinder says, you know, just be this non-judgmentalness that you were mentioning, and this sense of just total acceptance, unconditional positive regard is really also sort of like, also what Alex just says, you know, all these paths are possible, and we just gotta keep on going and see where it takes us, and then begin to sort of see like, oh, was this good? Was this worthwhile? And am I going to continue with this? And then, then perhaps we're going to select maybe the best of everything. I don't know. Does it make sense? Thank you.
I think we skipped over Mary. Did you have something to say, or did you pass, Mary?
No, I didn't pass, but I was.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Mary, it's my fault. Did I skip you? Sorry.
No, that's okay. I think it was interesting to hear Maximus go first. And so something that Deepinder said reminded me of something that someone else said in a meeting the other day when we were talking as a group. We have one staff meeting every semester because there are so many of us. We might have another one this time because so many people are teaching asynchronously that we could actually possibly schedule something like that sometime. But one of my colleagues pointed out that, like, I mean, we're all feeling pretty good about ourselves and each other because we really have risen to the challenge. And I think been really empathetic toward our students and our colleagues, because we're a part of the English department, but we're very different from them, and we have a lot of conflicting goals. Sometimes they are very much of the predominant white, upper class, educated culture. And when I say white, that doesn't mean everybody's white, but the people who are not white are often pretty, what I would call assimilated as opposed to acculturated, that they've really bought into higher education as the way to get places and the thing to do. Colonized, yeah, you could say colonized. And I'm thinking, there are far more Asians than Hispanics or African Americans. And, you know, they're the model minority. And in fact, that's the kind of culture there is in the English department. So I think we find ourselves stressing out to a much lesser extent because, as this colleague pointed out, we've all taught overseas. Like, you can't get into a master's program unless you have some international experience. If not international, you know, you've spent 2 years on the Hopi reservation or Navajo reservation, where people are second language learners of English, and you've immersed yourself in another culture, and you see that there are loads of other ways this could be done. You've often worked in really trying circumstances. I'm not talking about, oh, Zoom was down today, trying circumstances. I'm talking about, oh, I'm supposed to teach a listening class using recorded materials at a time of day when our classroom doesn't have electricity and never has electricity. So the whole semester, I'm not going to have electricity. I'm going to have to come up with a completely different way to teach listening. And as the semester goes on, I'm going to have to teach it in the dark, which was the first semester I was teaching. That's exactly what happened. The hospital next door had electricity that day, not us. And so you're like, okay, this is how it is, and we're going to have to deal with that. And so we come into this situation with a really different mindset in terms of tactics and strategies, I think, than most people. You know, as a department, not only do I think this way, but I can rely on the fact that my coworkers are also going to be that comfortable flying by the seat of their pants. They're going to be people who have not only excelled at dealing with difficult circumstances, but embraced it and taken it on as a profession. Woo! I want to keep doing this. This is cool. This is fun. So how do I, and I remember saying something about this early on to a friend who teaches in Grenada about being frustrated by people. And she's like, yeah, but Mary, most of the people who are dealing with the situation have never had the experiences that you've had. And so of course, this is the first time they've dealt with this. And not only that, you're a person who chooses to have that kind of experience. And they're not the kind of people who choose to have those experiences. They're not the sort of people who think the Peace Corps would be fun, you know. That's a certain type of person. And so I guess what I'm struggling with right now is how to share not just the skills, but the mindset of, or the attribute of tactics and the mindset of someone who's like, woo, here, now we get to organize completely differently. It's like an opportunity. And I keep seeing this as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to re-examine the shoulds that we have and make new not to-do lists. I mean, rationalists talk a lot about shoulds, you know, and they're like, anytime you're saying, I should do this, you're like, I should lose weight, you know, is the one that comes to my mind instantly. And then I'm like, yeah, why? You know, like, unless there's something underlying that is truly valuable, like, I should do this, I should do that. You want to look at what those shoulds are really saying. Are they saying other people who weigh as much as me think they should lose weight, therefore I should also lose weight? Or am I concerned about my health or, you know, my knees? And is that the best way to address that issue? And so when we say should, we should really look at like, wait, well, why do I think I should? Why is that, where's that should coming from? And I think that a lot of teachers are being told they should do this, and they should maintain this standard, and the standards are stupid. You know, they should not be doing that. They should instantly be moving that to their not to-do list. You know, so this, to me, this is an opportunity for us to rethink I mean, say rethinking priorities, it almost sounds too dismissive of, you know, what's really important here. But I think a lot of elementary education teachers get burned out because there are these lists of things they have to do with privacy and, you know, testing and things that they're not moving their students toward a better, happier, more independent, healthier life. They're on the shoulds list, and I love this idea of a not to-do list. I think like I'd have to do it on my computer so that I can like write down all the things I should do and then sort. Okay, forget those for the time being. But I'm having a little trouble bringing this, like looking at Alex's toolbox and seeing how that would help me to communicate across this border or this barrier of non-shared experience and non-shared optimism, because I see a lot of pessimism and a lot of anger surrounding a lot of what's going on. And I will also admit that I think that our chancellor and our deans have communicated with us very well. we haven't gone back to school yet, but we're going to be going back to school in a way that actually makes sense to me. They're going to be in-person classes, and they're limited to things that need to be in person. Whoa! Instead of having in-person classes for things that don't need to be in person, you know, therefore limiting the number of exposures. And like, yes, labs, no to writing classes, you know, it makes a lot of sense what we're doing. And instructors have really been given a choice. Like, no one is teaching in person who doesn't want to teach in person. And so I feel like my situation has been relatively comfortable all along, that I've felt heard, that I've felt respected. And I know that's not the case for a lot of people at a lot of institutions, K through 12 and higher ed. But how to, and I guess Alex, you'd be the person who's probably thought about this the most, how to get someone else to explore a mindset that is really foreign to them. How to get someone to say, yeah, I've never had to teach in a situation where by the middle of December, I was teaching in the dark and I didn't have, I couldn't use anything recorded. Their whole listening class was my voice and me talking and them talking to each other, which turned out to be fabulous, by the way. But how do I get them to, how do I talk to people in such a way that I don't sound like, well, you know, back when I was a girl and things were really tough. And I sound like, oh, hey, I had a similar situation and I'd like to share that with you because I think it might be similar to your situation. How do you get people to let go or loosen up about a mindset that's keeping them from getting to where they need to be, or getting to a place that's going to be a happier, more comfortable place for them to be? I think I better stop talking. Yeah. And let Abigail have a chance. I did, by the way, bring a talking piece, but I keep forgetting about it. It is a feather fossil that was given to me by a student in southwestern China when I was doing teacher training there. And she missed a lot of teacher training because she's in geology and they kept doing field trips. But she was an enthusiastic student who made the most of every minute that she was in class. And this is also just a lovely, I don't know, you can see it. It's a feather that is fossilized. It's part of the stone. It's pretty cool. All right.
That is beautiful, Mary. And we've got up here, we've got some like fossilized coral that people make jewelry out of. And it's just, I mean, it's incredible. It's just so amazing to like have that piece of, you know, Earth history. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Alex, could you make me a co-host? So I'd passed you the host and then didn't realize that was gonna, like, you know, give you all of the controls. But I just need co-host because I want to share something. So what I'm gonna do first is I've just been like, as things have been being said, I've been just writing one or two words or, you know, little phrases over here on my paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of say some things that are like highlights, right? I'm going to put some earworms in your brain. And then I'm going to go to my playlist, and I love, it's like the soundtrack of my life, right? I have different playlists that are, you know, the soundtracks of different parts of my life. Or if I have, like, I'm feeling this way, I'm like, oh, I need this playlist. And so the playlist that I'm going to go from today is called the motivational my motivational songs playlist. And what I do is I'll just like do random shuffle. So then whatever comes up, it's just kind of like, that's the song, you know, like whatever, like that is what it is. That's the song that we're listening to. So I'm going to kind of read some highlights. We're going to listen to a song. We're going to take some time to kind of like organize all of these beautiful gems that have arisen today. And then do our kind of final round of closing. That is our, you know, that guiding question. What are we going, you know, what could we do to approach things differently and to help people, you know, help people get what the term that keeps coming back to me is like to get unstuck, right? So if you're stuck in somewhere and you're like, you know, if you think of yourself as a boat going down a river, right? And like you get pulled over to one side of the river and you're in the, like get into the weeds and get stuck on the shore. So like, how can we help people kind of, and ourselves get unstuck? So a couple thoughts that came up. First of all, Maximus, your little owl is really cute. And I got a big laugh because I have an in-house comedian over here, and he's like, I wonder if any of them have ever seen a naked owl. So after action circles, please look up naked owls because they're just it's nature in all of its glory. Okay, so here are some of the thoughts that came to me. Trapped in language. What should we not do? We need to put things in their place. What can we do? What supports do we need? Course correction. Tribal council. Unconditional positive regard. Empowerment. Compassion. Empathy. Connection. Impulse control. Shared experiences. Stories. How do we share them? Where's the love? Without judgment. Creative flexibility. Animal folktales. And did this require a meeting? So those are the little gems that I harvested during this time. And so I'm going to mute myself and play a song while we take some time to engage in some silent counsel and reflect upon that question. What could we do? What are the actions we could take to help ourselves and others get unstuck? All right. Everybody is ready. Alex, you may kick us off.
Thanks, everyone. Let's see. I do see. I see. Deepinder also pointed out. I'd like to answer some questions that we had. I know, Mary, you had some questions about how to convey things to other people who may be missing things, and that's definitely something that I'd like to touch on at this meeting. And I like your idea, Deepinder, of the just telling a funny anecdote or a story about something that happened. It's good to put things in perspective with a narrative that might surprise people about how people can deal with situations when they don't see the possibility. So yeah, that's definitely a good way of approaching presenting that and educating people. Let's see. Then another approach that I often use is trying to get people to think through what the objectives are using something like perception mindset, which combines synthesis and analysis. So there's all sorts of mindsets in the toolbox, like narrative, surprise, presentation, education, and some of them are built on other mindsets. And so I don't want to go through all of those, but just helping people to recognize what is most important. What are we actually trying to accomplish? Because often they get caught in the procedure. They know what they're supposed to do, but they don't know what the actual purpose is, the goal, the value, the objective. What are they actually trying to accomplish beyond just the means by which they do that? And so perception is a good way to get back to the basics of what do we actually want? What does all of this mean? Using the imagination to remove assumptions and the analysis to figure out, is this actually, does this correspond to what I want? Is this consistent? Or is it a mismatch? Something like that. And being able to do that allows us to change how we think about things. So, and it takes practice, and then we can combine it with things like action to make responsibility. We can combine it with facilitation to make cunning, to come up with ways of doing the impossible. We can combine it with communication to make education. All of that, like, my instinct is to say we can probably talk about that more offline, just after the meeting or at some other time, because that gets into a lot of details about just how I would use these mindsets. But with these basic tools, we can construct many more tools that are more powerful and more suitable for complicated situations. Granted that every tool needs to be calibrated for a particular situation in order to be usable effectively. Because, for instance, with operation mindset, athletes are not the same thing as fighter pilots. They both use it, but they use it in different situations. But be that as it may, I have ways of applying these for the purposes of helping people move beyond their current thought patterns and whatever limitations they may have. I think that was the main point I want to get at there. So I'd like to open up the floor. Any other questions or things that inspire people about how to go out and help other people do things?
I mean, I could say we can model for them because that's one of our behavior analytic principles as well, is to model for people what you want them to do. The tricky part is without sounding preachy, because I say that and I know I become preachy. So I try to be observant of my own behavior. Can I model without sounding preachy? You know, that is and earlier I shared just telling in a story. People like to hear stories, you know, and you can, I would say, exaggerate them a little bit. Don't tell a lie, but like exaggerate to make it exciting, to bring some context in, even if it wasn't exciting at that time. Like Mary was saying, you know, there was no light, and you could say, oh my God, there was no light. It was dark, and I was getting nervous, and I was scared. Then I thought, oh, Mary, I can do it. Like, you know, but because that catches people's attention, right? So it's, and model with your own behavior. Like, I'm just talking Mary's because I'm thinking Mary's example is, then you do something and then others will say, oh, she could do it, I guess I could do it. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Was that good?
Oh,
Maximum?
yes. I still wanted to say something about the need for us to express these things, the need for us to talk about being stuck, and the need for us to acknowledge that, and it goes along also with what you just said, Alex, that what are we trying to accomplish? We are not going to accomplish what we want to accomplish by being stuck. So we need to acknowledge that being stuck is something that has to be avoided, or has to be acknowledged, and then overcome, so to speak. And every strategy or every kind of method, if you will, can help us with that. You know, like whether it is a story or whether it is a little I don't know, something to show which makes it more tangible, you know, or I don't know, just something different than what we usually do. So, but I was just thinking about the need for us to be able to just talk about it and to really acknowledge in the conversation that these are just the processes that we are dealing with, and we would like it to be different. And so then we are all on the same page with regard to the fact that, okay, we don't want to be stuck. We're all contributing to, you could say, that sort of joint attention that will make us move to something better, or that make us move to, to the solution to the problem or something. Yeah. And so that, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh.
Was it? Oh, I'm going to add a bit to what Deepinder was saying. Using stuff like empathy mindset and combining it with all sorts of other mindsets, I find that is very helpful for getting people interested in learning more. Because if you can demonstrate that you can solve a problem that they can't, or that you understand what they're trying to do, and that you want to help them succeed, that you share their values, that's when they become interested in hearing more. And then it stops being preaching and starts being just mentoring, just having a regular discussion. So that's the key, is getting that buy-in using empathy and combining it with all sorts of other mindsets.
So when Deepinder wrote that comment, I thought, oh, well, yes, of course, I do this all the time. When I'm teaching, I will say, oh, yeah, a lot of students have this problem. Let me tell you about so-and-so and how they solve this problem. Or, yeah, a lot of students from your country run into this, and that's because blah, blah, blah. And when I lived in your country, this is how I was confused by that at first, and then came to understand it. So these little stories, they're huge. And I think maybe my problem is, Like I'm on Facebook and I just see this like litany of people with this very similar problem, reacting in a similarly stuck sort of way. And I think, so two things occurred to me. One is that I need to see them as individual, like you said, empathize with that individual's situation and where they're stuck, and maybe look at, oh, is there something in here that I can identify, and then go tell a story that's really relevant to this one specific situation that seems to be really upsetting them. But the other thing is, I think I need to get more organized. Like, I think I need to get myself into an organization mindset and say, okay, I'm going to observe what's going on here. I'm going to acknowledge the frustration. And then like share my observations. Like, I see that you're frustrated, and it seems to me that you're frustrated by this, you know, and if that's correct, then from there, maybe offer some suggestions or advice or an alternative way of looking at it. When I find myself and I have rationality to thank for this in part, I like to look at what's the crux. And so I think that, like, deciding I'm going to go into these situations, I'm going to go into these little conversations with the idea of, like, what's the crux here? Is this person frustrated because they're feeling disrespected by their organization? Are they feeling frustrated because their organization doesn't seem to make up their minds about things? Because that's a big one. Are they frustrated by what they're actually being asked to do? And can they just do an end run? I mean, my boss is constantly saying, don't ask permission, ask for forgiveness. And it's made her a very successful administrator, because she does things and people are like, whoa, wow, that was a great idea. But if she'd asked permission, they never would have let her do it. Yeah, and so I think, like, identifying what's the underlying issue, what's the crux. And from that, so what I'm seeing here is I'm not organized enough in my approach. I need to be working on my organization mindset around this question. Yeah, that seems right. And I can stop talking.
So we've got a lot of excellent thoughts here. We're about 2 minutes until time here. So the next meeting is going to be the last one in this cycle, and it's going to deal with, we're going to take some of the ideas that we've touched on here, and we're just going to take the ones that we think best apply to our situations and try them out. And then next week we'll come back and discuss how that went, what we learned from it, what we can do in the future going forward, and that sort of thing. Just getting feedback and calibration on any new concepts that we think are useful that we learned.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex, and everybody, for being here and sharing your perspectives and sharing your wisdom with the circle, because there was a lot of wisdom that was shared today. And one concept that kind of I keep circling back to, we're talking about telling stories and our language and speaking and listening and using surprising narratives and making things like palpable. Like we're not going to help people get unstuck if we don't help them find the motivation necessary to unstick themselves, right? Because I can't pull you out of your situation. It's not my job. It's not my responsibility. But you know, like I have observation skills that are, you know, and you all do too. I'm just talking from my perspective. Like I have these observation skills that are possibly either more refined, or I've just, you know, I've got more experience, or I've just got a different perspective. I'm looking at it from a different angle. And, you know, like when you're in the forest, when you're in the weeds, it's hard to see the forest for the trees, right? So like being able to share those observations in a very compassionate way, non-judgmental. Like it's not like, oh, I noticed you were doing this and you know, that means that you suck as a human being. It's like, oh, no, that's not the point. That's not helpful. But sharing observations, offering suggestions, and, you know, just like like remembering forward is that, you know, that more, that kind of like indigitized type of concept where, you know, Mary, you're talking about like you've had all of these experiences and you've seen all of these things, and so you have this body of knowledge that others don't have because they haven't had those same experiences. And so when you make that connection and can tell them a story to illustrate, like it helps people to create those relational frames, and helps people put things in their place and put them in context more flexibly. So yeah, just thank you. This was a really powerful gathering of the circle, and I love you all. So thank you for joining us and for sharing your wisdom with the circle. And we look forward to seeing you all next week as we wrap up this cycle of the foundational toolbox for life and talk about what we can do and what we will do, and to kind of carry this forward and help people get unstuck. So with that, I bid you adieu, and we'll see you next weekend.